birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Oh, so sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
So very nice, Juvan. So Shreya, you are the host, so please start the meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So, good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the 12th session of our series, Adventure in
Good
Learning.
evening.
Good evening, where we embark on journeys that expand not just our knowledge, but our capacity for growth, adaptability, and transformation. Today's theme, Studying Immunity to Change, speaks to the subconscious resistance that keeps us anchored to familiar patterns, even when logic and ambition urge us forward. It is our hidden commitments and big assumptions which serve as powerful internal immune systems, protecting us from discomfort but ultimately limiting our potential for real lasting progress. It is in exploring these invisible barriers to change, aligning our intentions with action, and accelerating the journey towards becoming what we aspire for, that we are truly privileged to be guided by someone who has spent his career helping individuals and organizations unlock their higher purpose. I'm honored to introduce Mr. Anil Sachdev, founder and chairman of the Soil Institute of Management, whose vision and experience remind us that meaningful transformation begins not only with strategies alone, but with the courage to confront the internal forces that hold us back. Alongside Anil sir, please join me in welcoming our two distinguished panelists for today's session, Ms. Anita Gupta. She brings more than 35 years of exemplary leadership experience, along with over 5,000 hours as an ICF Master Certified Coach and EMCC Senior Practitioner. Her career spans leadership roles in engineering, strategic business units, HR, and operations, making her uniquely equipped to partner with leaders across diverse industries in unlocking potential and building future-ready capabilities. Her deep expertise lies in guiding executives through complex transformations, empowering high-performing teams, managing change with agility, and fostering innovation. Her leadership philosophy is distinctly human-centered, prioritizing relational trust and sustainable cultures that enable organizations to thrive in an ever-evolving landscape and deliver sustainable business outcomes. She has worked extensively at scale, leveraging her rich experience to coach, mentor, and cultivate leaders capable of navigating today's challenges with clarity and confidence. We are privileged to learn from your experiences, ma'am. We are also joined by Mr. Emmanuel David. He is a seasoned corporate leader with experience and insights in diverse sectors, including executive education, hospitality, financial services, and more. Formerly the director of Tata Management Training Center, he led the leadership development of the Tata Group, where the participants were Tata leaders and civil servants of the Government of India. Currently serving as the Managing Director of Grid Synergies Private Limited, the Authority on Culture and Change, he also serves as an independent director and NRC chairman of Aster DM Healthcare. He mentors at Columbia University's MS program on Technology Management and Northeastern University's MS program on Strategic Technology Leadership program. He holds numerous accolades, including the prestigious British Gas Chairman Safety Award, and actively contributes to various educational and community service initiatives. He's also an ACC credentialed coach from ICF and has certifications in key personality assessment tools. We are eager to learn from you, sir. And I'm Dr. Shreya Roy Chaudhary, Assistant Professor and HR Consultant at the Soil Institute of Management. I hold a PhD in Management with a specialization in the area of OB. Prior to this, I was with Right Management, where I work with diverse client organizations in the area of talent assessment, leadership development, and organizational effectiveness. I'm passionate about bridging the gap between industry and academia to create meaningful learning experiences for the student community and help them navigate dynamic organizational landscapes. Now, to begin with our conversation, I would like to invite Anil sir to share his opening thoughts, helping us explore the deeper meaning of immunity to change and set the stage for today's learning journey.
It's a very intriguing topic today because I have met so many of us in our lives who recognize that they need to change the way they live their lives, the way they behave, even though at one level they are very aware of that, and to some extent they are even committed to that. There is something very, very strange that they find it very difficult to bring about the change, because they are perfectly intelligent people. They know exactly what they need to do differently. And yet for things which we will examine and explore deeply, there is a part of their mind that prevents them from changing. So there is this huge contradiction. I know I must change. I have enough feedback. I myself recognize that. And it's a very strange behavior in people because people don't change and sometimes they actually kill themselves but are not able to change their habits. It's something quite extraordinary about human beings that even at the fear of death does not come in the way. And even many people die, but they don't change their behaviors. So this strange behavior of human beings who are supposed to have the power to discern happens. And I think it's a fascinating discipline because even in the spiritual discipline, we recognize that some of us are caught by our actions of yesterday, what we call prarabdha. And we are not able to exercise the free will, which is through purusharth, finding a new way of making a new beginning. We are so caught up in our prarabdha, we are unable to act through free will and through purusharth. And this is an extraordinary contradiction about human beings that exists, unfortunately. In the spiritual discipline, there is a method given to how to recognize that and how to heal oneself. But in our normal worldly affairs, many of us do not have that inner wisdom to wake up to what is preventing us to change within ourselves. So I think it's a fascinating topic if only we can recognize. And mind you, this is not just true for individuals, it is true for teams, it is true for organizations. Indeed, it is true of countries that we get trapped into our existing behaviors and we don't find the capacity to change. For example, that's why some conflicts last for generations. That's why countries are at war for generations, because the mental models that they have, they prevent themselves from changing. The narrative that they have in their mind is not allowing them to change. So I think this is a fascinating subject. And I think if only we can learn this topic today, I think we can bring a lot of hope to our lives and to the community. So these are just my opening comments, but I'm sure, as I always say, the power lies in questions. So those of you who are going to give the gift of questions to this forum today are going to do great service to each one of us, including myself, by the power of your questions. So I look forward to your questions too and having a dialogue with you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your opening comments. Now I'd ask the co-panelists to, share their insights and their questions. So we would start with Anita, ma'am. Would you like to go ahead?
Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry for the background sounds that'll come. I'm still on the road. I couldn't have missed this webinar for anything in my life because just finding an opportunity to be in the same space as all of you is a privilege. So continuing from what you said, Anil, there's always that hidden potential in each one of us that sometime, as you said, needs that awakening. So I realize my potential, which may be buried inside, and then I can perhaps even strive to reach my higher purpose. I'm reminded, because we're talking about Dashara, Diwali, etc., the Hanuman's Jambavan moment, where all his strengths there was a curse which made him forget about his inner strength. But it was that awakening of the Jambavan moment that got him to realize that he had the strengths in him and he could actually fulfill that situational purpose of getting Sita ji, that whole thing, that he could then take that leap. So some of us just sit on the ocean side, much like him, wondering with a self-doubt whether or not I can actually take the leap. And at those times, if somebody or something triggers us to know our potential with a commitment, the higher purpose that, say, Hanumanji had, that then connects beautifully, and then I take a leap forward. So, given, Anil, that I've kind of observed the way that you have evolved with the changes over and over again in a lifetime, what is the higher purpose that's driving you? to make those changes, to be able to unearth the potential in you?
So, Anita, I was very blessed and fortunate to be born in a family where we were taught right from the beginning that the most important thing in life is not a thing. And through the stories that were told to us, through the experiences that we had, through the personal examples set by our parents and others in the family, it was quite clear to us that the higher purpose is about serving the well-being of all. My brother, who was in the Indian Army, he comes from the National Defense Academy, and there it is service before self. Because my sisters were married army officers, my father was in the army. It was also the country first, the team second, and I last. The spiritual teacher, Swami Chinmayananda, and the teachings of Chinmaya Mission in the pledge where we say, the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. So these were the kind of messages and environment, and we become greatly inspired and influenced by the way we are brought up. So that's a starting point. And when I was listening to Swami Chinmayananda and I was a young man, I always asked myself the question, some of my brothers have become in the army, my sisters are married army officers, they are doing the service through the armed forces. But what can I do to take responsibility? And I said to myself, we are a very poor country. If I could help in bringing back that economic glory to India, if I could do my bit to help in the economic development of this country. And as a young man, I thought, and even when I was studying management, I thought to myself that we in India do not think about us as first rate. We refer to a term called world class, as if that is beyond us. And we don't have the self-confidence to say we will produce products and services which will be best in the world. And in the proper ethical way, which is what the Indian wisdom and values are all about. So I said to myself, if we can achieve economic development without spiritual impoverishment, if we could gain economic success without selling our soul, while preserving our wonderful family values and culture, respect for people, respect for women, respect for environment, and all those wonderful things that are taught to us in our wisdom traditions. If we could allow this great message of our Indian spiritual traditions to be connected directly to achieving that excellence at work, then we would become a superpower, not superpower of trying to dominate the world, but superpower in terms of expressing the highest in us. So this idea really intrigued me, and right from the beginning, I made that the North Star in my life. And there are different formats in which I have tried to serve this particular cause. But in whichever assignments I have done, this has been the purpose. So if there was some limitation in me connecting it to today's topic, for instance, if somewhere I thought that it is becoming my ego because, at a very young age, I got some very senior responsibilities. I was the youngest at all the levels in my company and amongst corporate India. I was given positions of responsibility at a very young age. And I was for example, in the Confederation of Indian Industry, I was the only non-promoter person in the National Council, sitting next to a Mr. Ratan Tata or next to Mr. Bajaj or next to a Mr. Godrej. And I had to be very careful that I said this respect and position and limelight that I am being given, it's not because of me. I'm representing an institution. And the idea is very important that why are they respecting Aisha? Why have they called the person who is head of Aisha to be representing the company at the highest level in policy making in the country? And I said to myself, this is the collective. It is because we have created a story about Aisha of a company of one particular kind that therefore this is happening to us. And if the ego in me was to assert, because I was voted as the best young manager of India, I got many awards at a young age, and so on and so forth. I always, when I got that, I first, of course, thanked my parents and my teacher, and then I said to myself, this is not about me. It's about the message. It's about the cause. And so, in any time, if I happen to get that sort of feeling in me that I have done this achievement, that ego in me, which is very possible that the ego gets gratified because you get all this recognition at a young age. I have to be extremely careful not to forget the core message. It's not about me, it's not about the position, it's not about the credit. That all that this is happening to me is because of the power of the cause one is serving. And as Gurudev and even Guruji Swami Tejomananda ji always reminded us, when you are inspired by a higher purpose and you become the first servant of that purpose, leadership will happen to you. The power will come to you. People will come from everywhere to support you. And then whatever limitations you have, whatever fears you have, whatever difficulties you are facing from inside, you will find a way to transcend them because they are all linked to your ego. So I think I have always believed, whichever position I have served, I have always had this sense that I am doing something special. I have always had this feeling that I am serving the higher in me. I am always having the feeling that I am serving the higher to serve society, no matter what I do. And I think that is the reason why I have found it possible to bring about the changes in whatever changes I have brought about in myself to do that. So Anita, that is the question on purpose that you talked about, which we are connecting this the change process to transformation process to, because if you have a higher level purpose in your heart, then you find it easy to bring about the changes in the way you behave, the way you live your life, because it's all about in service of something larger than yourself. So that's the way I would like to position it. Yeah.
Beautiful way of saying that, Anil. Thank you for sharing that. And the ego death is that phrase that I can relate to so well with all the experiences that you shared today, in terms of how you serve with the higher purpose of devotion, I would say equivalent. I would love to ask more questions, but I'm going to ask Emmanuel to chip in.
Yeah, sure. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Anil. Quite a nice introduction. Thanks, Anita, for setting the context of purpose and the higher purpose. And actually, as Gandhiji said, find purpose, means will follow. I think that's how I've noticed that as a truism in my life as well. Whenever there's clarity of purpose, then I find the universe conspires with all the means which happens. And Anil, of course, over time, we've kind of observed and I've
जी
seen.
2 पेज प्रिंट दिया मुझे दे देंगे प्लीज
uh, I've seen the transitions and the opportunity to serve actually expand, and I see that as an opening spiral. When things go well, but just looking at my own self, wherein I made some changes a couple of months ago. Uh, a small thing in the way my eating habits because of lifestyle diseases and all that, and it has been positive. But I was questioning myself, why is it I didn't do it earlier? Why is it I didn't do it earlier? So I'm curious to understand from you, what are the kind of resistances, barriers uh, to change? I mean, I understand the preferred future. I understand things logically, but yet, most of us face this challenge. In my own coaching practice, I find that people do acknowledge that they want change, but that there's a difficulty. What is it? And that again is a sense of this topic as well. Curious to understand how you would, dissect it for us.
As you all know, we owe a lot of debt to Dr. Robert Keegan and his colleague Lisa Lahi, who did this amazing work. And those who are not familiar with the story, I want to remind you of the story. Harvard Medical had many patients coming to Harvard Medical which were very strange and weird. Here is a young man who is at the top of his organization as CEO, smoking incessantly, apparently very happy in life, on the top of the game, CEO of a company, very happily married, 2 children. In the 40s, he gets a heart attack and he almost dies. When he's getting discharged from the hospital, the doctor says, "Will you swear by your wife and children you will never smoke again?" He said, "I swear they matter most to me." And for a few weeks, he doesn't smoke. But what happens to him after a few months? He again takes up to smoking. And a few months later, he has another heart attack and he dies. Such cases were happening repeatedly in Harvard Medical. Apparently very bright, intelligent people. They knew they had to change their lifestyle, but they didn't change their lifestyle and killed themselves in the process. So Harvard Medical was very confused. They referred to the Harvard Education, and Professor Keegan and Lisa Lahi, they began this path-breaking research on why people do not change. We are all familiar. There's a book called Immunity to Change. As Professor Keegan tells us, and Lisa tells us, that you see, the reason we don't change is because inside our own mind, there is a hidden competing commitment that is preventing us from changing. So therefore, he said, just like you do an X-ray of your body to find out what's the problem with the body, he encourages us to do the X-ray of the mind and says, develop something called your immunity X-ray. In the first column, write down what is that one thing that is very important for you to change. And for example, for the case of those who are overweight and having diabetes, they write that. Or for the person who is a smoker and is finding it difficult to give up, or person who's very fond of alcohol, any such thing, or a person who gets very upset and angry at people. The person has got this anger problem, and in the leadership style, the person loses the shirt very often. The person knows it. So that's column 1. I must change this. It's very important for me to change it. The consequences could be disastrous for me. So that's column 1. But in the second column, Keegan tells us to write, what is it that you're doing instead? For example, the one person, I was CEO, I was coaching, had this tremendous anger problem, shouting at people. And he promised to myself that, now he will not do it. But after 4 weeks, he called me and said, Anil, you know what? They once again made me do it. Who? My team, who was giving reasons for non-performance. It's a very interesting story. This person knows the person wants to change, but what is the behavior exactly opposite to that? The person who says, I will not binge on overeating, I will not eat breads, I will not eat carbohydrates, and the person is a severe diabetic. But the drop of a hat, the person goes and orders this food in a restaurant, in a party, makes a beeline for all the food the person should not be eating. So second column, what are the behaviors which are exactly opposed to what you want to change? But now the third column. What is your hidden competing commitment? The hidden competing commitment for the man who loses his anger and uses fear to get work done from his people. The hidden competing commitment is the person enjoys the power of controlling people, the command and control style. The person genuinely enjoys that, enjoys making people scared of his authority. The person who's overeating and is diabetic, the person is enjoying the pleasure of overeating. Enjoying the food the person eats, the different things that he's not supposed to eat. The person's need for pleasure is far greater than the need to cure the diabetes. So, very strange. So, there is a hidden competing commitment for a person who says, for example, that the person finds it very difficult to say no to people and keeps on saying yes and makes a mess of his life. What's the hidden competing commitment? I want to be liked by everybody. I have a need for being liked by everyone, and therefore I can't say no. So the third is the hidden competing commitment, right inside our mind. The need to change is one side, the hidden competing commitment is more powerful and is preventing me from changing. I don't even admit it to myself. For example, the person who uses anger never says to himself he likes enjoying putting people in fear. That process of enjoying the raw power over people is what the person craves for. Then Keegan says in the fourth column, what are the mental models and assumptions that are feeding the hidden competing commitment? For the person who's overweight and diabetic, the mental model is, how does it matter? Overweight people are the most loved. I know so many people in my life who are overweight, but they have led a beautiful life. And how does it matter whether you live 5 years extra or not? Eat, drink, be merry, enjoy your life. For the mental models of the person behind who uses anger and creating fear, the mental model is without fear, people will not be productive. Person genuinely believes that in the mental model. The person who's an excessive smoker, he keeps looking for evidence of people who are smokers and have had long lives. How does it matter? This person was a non-smoker. Look at him, this person died young. Look at this smoker friend of mine at 85 is still going strong. The mental model is that this won't ever happen to me, that it's okay. So very, very strange that people create mental models and assumptions in their mind that are feeding the hidden competing commitment. When you have done the 4 columns, first column, the thing you want to change. Second column, what do you do instead? Third column, the hidden competing commitment. Fourth column, the mental models that are feeding the hidden competing commitments. Then Keegan says, ask yourself, what is the biography of your mental models? For the CEO who I was coaching, I said, who are your role models? He said, my father. I said, describe to him. He was the best auditor general. Highly respected. I said, describe his personal style. People dare not speak in his presence. I said, describe other role models. He said, my first boss. I said, describe him to me. He was a terror, but he was the best in his business. So the role models you have are people who are feeding your mental models. Subconsciously, you didn't like your dad for being very strict and shouting at you, but it influenced you so much that when you became a supervisor, you also began to shout at others. Very, very interesting. You don't even acknowledge that what you didn't like in your upbringing, you are trying to now become even worse than that. So the biography of your mental models, such an important part. Then Keegan tells us, and this is where he says something, and Lisa Lahi, his colleague, says something which sounds to me like Indian spiritual thought. He says, when you become an observer of your own mind, what is meant by that? When you become an observer of your own mind, who is that you? Who is the one observing the mind, the owner of the mind? Who is that? The inner witness, the consciousness. What Gandhi said, the inner witness. When you identify yourself with the inner witness and you can observe the games your mind is trying to play, then you know you need to challenge your mind. You need to teach your mind not to be trapped in the thinking of the past and to launch some experiments. So for the CEO who was using anger, the experiments I encouraged him to launch was to start practicing appreciation, expressing gratitude, find a way to find people doing positive and shining the light on the positives. He initially said, oh, that sounds very artificial. I don't do that. I said, make an attempt, launch an experiment. He began to write handwritten notes to people. He said, Anil, something amazing has happened. I said, what has happened? He said, people have started responding. I started realizing that for last 30 years, I was leading my life in a different style. All of a sudden, people are doing even more than what I expected. And I did just innocuous handwritten post-it notes. I wrote something and gave to my team member. I just bought some chocolates and went and gave to each one and appreciated them. And we achieved record results last month. And I was saying, oh my God, I never had to raise my voice even once. This actually works, Anil. I said, I don't know. You are the one who thought about doing this experiment. You are the one who thought about doing this appreciation. You are the one who thought you will practice spontaneous residual. It's you. He said, Anil, this is a huge revelation to me. For 30 years, I led my life in one particular way, but now I am these experiments that I'm launching, and thank you for not telling me what to do, but always asking questions on what I should do. So he said, it's a whole new world that has opened up to me. I never thought such a world existed. For the person who stopped overeating and started enjoying running, I have this person I was coaching who was 120 kilos, and over 1 year he reduced it to 70 kilos. And the person reduced 50 kilos in 1 year. He was a part of one of our long-term educational programs. It's just fascinating. He began to enjoy the process of running, certain kind of plant-based diet that he switched over to. And he said, I didn't know it existed. Told me, began to experiment. When I began to do this, I think the best thing that has happened to my life is my habit of running. The best thing is my switching over to plant-based diet. And a whole new world has opened up to me. So, when people begin to witness that I am trapped in my own mind, and they realize I am not the mind, what we in the Vedanta call Sakshi Bhav, with the inner witness. I think that's the power of that. So I think I'll stop talking here. I think I have given you enough understanding of what this topic is about, but I'm sure there are some very wonderful questions coming our way. So please go ahead. Shreya, I'm sure you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes. So hearing everything that you've shared, I mean, all three of you have shared, it's very insightful and also intriguing, and makes me want to ask a question. So, according to Indian philosophy, of course, life has 4 stages, which is basically when we are a student, and then when we move on to become a householder, and then we become a retiree, and then finally the last stage, which is sannyasa. My question is, which kind of transition has been the most challenging for you, and what role does support systems play, either to complicate the transition or to maybe smoothen the transition?
When I was a student and learning in the early part of my life, I think I have enjoyed every bit of that life. I studied in very simple schools, but I really valued some friends I had. I valued some teachers I had, and I think I really enjoyed that. The transition to the life of a householder and management happened very smoothly for me because I got married at a very young age. I became a father at a very young age, and I also got senior management responsibilities at a young age. Having said that, because mine was a love marriage, I had to first convince my family that I wanted to get married. I had 2 older brothers. I think one of them is probably part of this webinar. So my parents made only a condition for me that, okay, one of your older brothers must get married before you get married. Fortunately, Colonel Rakesh Sachdev, my eldest brother who's here in this call, he decided that he will honor that request from my parents, and he is the one who got married 10 days before I did. So I got permission to get married. If he had not helped in doing that, helping me with that transition, perhaps it would have been, then something else would have happened in my life. So I think it was that part, then the fact that we had to make our home, the fact that we had to stay separately from a joint family. Those were some difficult transitions to go, because on one hand, I loved my parents very much. I wanted to stay with them. On the other hand, we had a need to also be independent and make a separate home, which is next to the Telco Pune plant. So there were some personal issues of those kinds that one has to learn through transition, and one had to do some inner work on how to handle those situations. I think at a very young age, I transitioned to for working inside a company. where I was on the board at a very young age. I set up a new business unit called Aisha Consulting, which was a completely new experiment. We didn't know whether it would work, not work. I had all kinds of, but I always had this inner belief that because the cause that Aisha Consulting is standing for, and some of my colleagues are part of this conversation today. I noticed Prasad is here, I noticed Sarthak Rai Chaudhary is here. I think the larger purpose of serving a bigger cause was something absolutely beautiful. So from an employee of a senior management position to an entrepreneur, to be given a chance to set up a new company, which was part of the vision that I had seen. It was not easy because, by the way, we took an office next to the Aisha office, corporate office. We had a small office. We did not have a generating set. So if our clients would come to our office and the power would go off in the heat of Delhi, then we had to request the corporate office, could we come and use your corporate, conference room? We borrowed 10 lakh rupees from Aisha parent company to set up Aisha Consulting. And sometimes we would run out of cash. And one didn't know how to go and ask the corporate office to give us cash. So all these kinds of things we were taught, we went through. And there was this feeling at one time we believed we in ECS had not grown that much. So there was a concept of group bonus, which all of us who were CEOs of different businesses used to get. So I went and told Mr. Vikram Lal and Mr. Subodh Bhargav, the chairman and the main promoter of the company, I said, this year I will not take the bonus. They said, Anil, it's okay. ECS may not have done as well as you expected, but you are part of the leadership team. That this bonus is given to everybody. And I said, no, I will not take it. So they smiled. They said, choice is yours. I didn't take it. Many months later, when the company's performance picked up, and then they told me, okay, do you think now you should take it? I said, okay. So, but I think what I really helped me at every transition, then I left Aisha after 23 years and I set up the company called Grow Talent, which I was very blessed with. It was not easy. My son had plans to do higher studies. My daughter was still studying and had to go for higher education. I had put all my retirement funds into creating my own venture. So it's not easy for a person who is not a wealthy person to create something by putting all the retirement funds to risk. But then there was always this belief, this is not for me. I'm not doing it for myself. And therefore, there will always be a blessing available. And what is the worst thing that could happen? Whenever I had to make the transition, I always ask, I said, what's the worst thing that happened? I come from a very simple family. I'm not a very wealthy person. What is the worst thing that could happen to me? So because one was not attached to any trappings of power or money or wealth, and therefore the risk taking came naturally because one had nothing much to lose anyway. So, it's that transition. And then when, I was on the top of the game, Grow Talent was the #1 HR company in the country, and we decided to enter the field of education. Once again, it was like, now is the time to now invest for the future generation. It's no longer, I'm now in my 50s. It's not about my achievements and my brand that counts. Now it's the brand of the young people. Now we have to make them. So I think because the story you tell your mind when you go through transitions each time, you have to prepare your mind for the transition. You are stepping away. When I stepped away from Aisha and Aisha Consulting, in the little basement of our home, we had to create a new company. Right? So you don't have all the resources, you don't have all the positions, you don't have all the perquisites of being in a big company. But because you have trained your mind to say the cause is more important, you enjoy, once again, the struggle. You enjoy going through work with limited resources. And I think that's how you continuously train your mind, and then you are able to overcome whatever are the internal issues your mind may create for you for not making the transition happen. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, sir. We would open, for questions from the rest of the people on the call.
My friend Shudipto Mandal from L&T Metro CHRO has been raising his hand earlier, and also my colleague Bhavna Sharma, who's in Florida, is raising her hand. Go ahead, Shudipto.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very trivial question because when I joined, sorry, I joined about 7-8 minutes late, and you are talking about that, at a very early age that you got the responsibility to handle much larger scope, and how one could be really humble and just take that as a gift and opportunity rather than being arrogant. But at the same time, when someone gets early age achievement or moving ahead, there are a lot of other people, they somehow don't like it. It could be at a peers level, or it could be even sometimes at a seniors level. So how to be really calm and handle that? I thought maybe I'll just ask that point.
Actually, I must give the credit to my colleagues and the credit to my seniors, because in Aisha, where all this happened for me, there was a culture of meritocracy. That means Vikram Lal, the main promoter, when he took over the company, there were some relatives of his in the company. He, with politeness, he asked each one of them to leave. Secondly, there was a rule introduced in the company that we will not hire any relative, or we will not do business with any family member, unlike other promoters, particularly in North India.
Mhm.
So there was completely based on a culture of meritocracy. So it was clear that there was meritocracy, and there was a collective process to decide who should be given advancement, who should be given, and there was a team that would decide that. So when that team came together and decided that I should be given responsibilities early in my life, people knew that this is not because I'm not related to the promoter, I'm not somebody, but because, and also Aisha had quite a few young people being given advancements ahead of their time. I was not the only person. Okay, I may have been the youngest at my level, but there were many other young people given a lot of responsibilities at a very young age. So it was a growing company. We were attracting good talent. We were giving opportunities to many people to advance their careers at a young age. And I happened to be one of them who received it. Of course, I was the youngest to be promoted at every level in the company I was. But people never perceived me as the youngest. They perceived me, and the credit goes to them rather than credit goes to me, because they always accepted on the quality of work one did and not necessarily impressed by the number of years. So I think that was a culture it was built, because Vikram Lal, when he was the MD of the company, himself was only 35. When he made me a board member at 35, people were kind of used to it, that there were people who had earlier also been given positions at a young age, starting with the promoter himself. So that's how I would say, but I think credit goes entirely to them. I think there are some other colleagues of mine from Aisha in this webinar. Dhananjay Bopatikar has joined all the way from Canada, from the West Coast. So it must be very early in his life for him. He's part of the team. So that's how it is. Yes. And
Thank you.
Emmanuel David, our co-host, is also ex-Aisha. He's a colleague in Aisha for many years, and I think he can perhaps speak to that as well. Yes.
I do endorse that. I mean, uh, as a 25, 26-year-old, one could speak my mind out or take positions with people in the government. I remember Anil standing in the court premises in Alwar when there was a mischievous case filed against Mr. Vikram Lal and Sir M.M. Lal. And they came in all humility to stand there. It's such a big testimony for me that we will not bow down to things. But that gave a sense of autonomy to many of us, that we can take a stance, there is purpose, and we are trusted, and you took that risk. I think those were certain factors which kind of shaped uh, at least me in my later positions, when I could take on, very, very intriguing and very difficult union situations and all that, or with government officials. So that was how it is. Yeah. Thank you, Anil.
Yeah.
And so
Thanks.
yeah, go ahead. So
So, no, I think it's very nicely said, and I can completely relate to that, because there are organizations with great cultures. I would say Asian Paints is one such, where I think this problem should not really happen. LNT also, but I'd still put Asian Paints, what I have seen, little ahead of that. But there are other organizations where these problems are there, right? So obviously you can only control yourself, but you cannot control others. So I was thinking that a lot of people probably get distracted or this by the other culture, and that becomes
Sure.
difficult to for. Yeah.
No, no, sure. And I think I will only say if there is somebody who's envious of you, all you can say is that thank you very much for showing your envy. Thank you very much for whatever angst you have with me. So Swami Chinmayananda said, build a foundation based on the bricks people throw at you.
Mhm.
That's
I actually took that seriously to say if somebody did that to me, all right, thank you very much. It's another opportunity to learn. For a moment, it might hurt you for a scornful comment made by somebody. In over a long life, there are occasions like that that happen to you. But then one has to learn to grow out of that criticism or that scorn or envy or whatever that is, and say, all right, that's also part of life. Bhavna wanted to say something. Go ahead, Bhavna.
I'm very glad Peggy is also here in the group. And for my international research on wise organizations and wise leadership, I spoke with Anil, Peggy, and many of his friends. And when I joined this call, Anil, you defined purpose in a very different way than many of the leaders in the corporate world talk about. Even I gave a presentation in another B school in India last week, and they were not convinced about my findings about because I was talking about the meaningful purpose and the way you are defining and the way Peggy was clarifying to me that sheer purpose in the context of business is more cognitive when people do talk about profitability, wealth, and but your definition and Peggy's definition is more meaningful purpose, which is more altruistic and which is basically you are in service or doing certain thing. And very interestingly, Mr. Ratan Tata was considered one of the wisest persons in my research and Tata Group also. But after he has left, now we have seen, do you think when the organizations like Tata and even big individuals, do you think purpose can be changed or is it more specific to individuals? Because now Tata Group is in crisis in terms of with the new leadership. Uh, is it very leadership specific? Is it very individual specific? Or once the organization, like I've seen that soil has a different feel to it. I worked there and it's the DNA is very different. Is it that the role of a leader is done? Once you set up a higher vision, you have run so many vision mission exercises. Is it a one-time process that you say that, hey, this is what we are chasing as an organization? It's an altruistic purpose. We are servant to, or is it very leadership specific that a leader changes and then the things change? How do we manage it? And because I understand that the definition of your purpose and Peggy's purpose is more meaningful purpose, which is more in service to something.
See, first of all, I would like to say that Swami Chinmayananda was asked, what will happen to this worldwide Chinmaya mission you have built after you are no more in this world? He said, well, I don't know. If the Lord wants the work to continue, it will continue. He says, I have done my best. What the other people now do with it is up to them. It's not right. When I am not there, I'm not going to take credit or I'm going to talk about what will happen. And let me tell you, Bhavna, the media makes up stories about how the trustees in Tata Group, there is a tussle and all that. This is all media created. I am 100% sure nothing major is going to go wrong with Tata because the Tata Group values are far beyond an individual's or far beyond some trustees trying to have a tussle about, the so-called Tata Sons and Tata Trusts. And this is media. This is some people. Maybe there are some people who are feeling different after Mr. Tata has gone because he was one unifying force. But I am 100% sure Tata will emerge stronger from whatever is the current, whatever issue is going on. I don't even know if it's a real substantial issue.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then I connected to Swami Chinmayananda. And then I come back to, you asked a question about, is it something that you make an inspiring vision and get everybody to buy in? And then later on, it's that. I think it's very clear that this is a continuous exercise. This purpose journey is not something you do it as an initiative. It's a part of your blood. It's a part of who you are. It's a part of your culture. It's a part of your looking every day to serving the highest. So it's a continuous attempt to keep on serving and keep on invoking the higher in you till you are around, till your last breath. I'm sure since you invoked Peggy's name, and thank you, Peggy, she is here in India with us. We are partners, learning partners, and facilitating a significant education program. But go ahead, Peggy. Maybe you have something to say as well on this.
I'm mostly nodding my head. Excuse me, what you were just saying, that I think purpose is innate, and it's a matter of us learning to listen to whatever that inner voice is, that call is, that shows up in our actions. And the more conscious we can be in embracing it, the more we can live it. Which, of course, in addition to feeling a sense of contribution, also brings joy and happiness. So, the work of attending to, how it shows up in your life, letting others be a reflection of it for you to help you discover it and make it clear, I think is one of the most, certainly for me, it was one of the most powerful things in my life, was getting clearer about that sense of, who I was, and, what I am on this earth to do. And it just gets better.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Peggy. That's so well.
Also, I had a second small, very question, rather it is a clarifying question. Dr. Shreya actually asked you, Anil, about Grasthashram and the different phases and stages of life. Do you think that it should be age normative? Because I have broken several norms throughout my life, whether what is the right age of getting married, or what is the right age of getting educated, or I've changed, gone through a lot of transitions. It really caused a lot of planning, and it sometimes other people or your relatives are not happy with your decisions. But do you think that this transition should be age normative, and it should be according to the age, like we have different ashrams in our Hindu Vedic culture? Or is it okay,
But these four transitions can happen also very early in life. I think in one of the earlier episodes we discussed that the first stage in life is you learn. The next stage in life is you earn. The third stage in life is you return. And the fourth stage in life is you yearn for higher meaning. And that corresponds to the brahmacharya, the grahastha, the vanaprastha, and the sannyas ashram. But these are transitions which are very natural. But for somebody like Adi Shankaracharya, whose work we were celebrating in the last few days, at such a young age, I think he was already talking about yearning even when he was a teenager, right? On the meaning of life, or what happened to Buddha and all the great spiritual masters. The rest of us seem to go through first these cycles that we first learn, then earn, then return, and so on. But it's all very clear that you don't have to go only at this stage. Suppose very early in life, you say, all my life is dedicated to serving others. Then where is the question of earning anything for yourself? Because all that you have, it's like my friend Nipun Mehta who founded Service Space. So, it's just that, he right from a very young age, soon out of Berkeley, he started a volunteer movement called Service Space. It's the world's largest volunteer movement. More than 1 million volunteers who simply do acts of kindness for the sake of that. So they run something called Karma Kitchens, where you can eat, and then leave whatever you think is fair for the next customer. And all the people who cook and serve are volunteers. Some of them are Silicon Valley engineers, some of them are senior managers. They all come and clean the restaurant, they serve the food, they cook with love. And they have karma kitchens all over the world. Or the concept they have of, the awakening circles. Now in Santa Clara, and when Nipun's parents' home, once a month, 80, 90 strangers come from different parts of the world who are visiting California. And there's a 3-hour process in his parents' home where parents and family members have cooked for these 70, 80 people. They sit for 1 hour for meditation, 1 hour they sit and have dialogue about food and cooking and eating together, serving together. And 1 hour is about talking about your own self and the higher meaning in your own life and your own search. So there's dialogue, there is celebrating the feast that people have cooked together, and there is also silence and meditation. Now these kind of circles of awakening are being held in cities all over the world, and people are selflessly hosting these circles. All they are doing is selflessly hard, and some preachers who accommodate 15, 20, going on for years, and this circle of kindness that goes on. Now, what do these people get? At a very young age, when they were in their 20s, they started doing this work. So the only thing they get is that sense of inner peace, the inner joy of leading a life of service. And there are so many, and I think there are so many such people who make that as a larger purpose of their life, Anita is saying something about in the comments column about Simon Sinek's comment. So yeah, Anita, why don't you share?
What Peggy said just triggered in me that, once you look at defining the vision for yourself, much like, for example, a vision of some aspirational companies that don't just define it as revenue numbers for a vision, but actually can connect it to the why. Why do we exist? The why of Apple, for example, has no numbers over there. So what Peggy said in terms of if I can understand and define for myself why am I there in the world, what do I serve? And I think Anil's statement that he started off with his commitment to the devotion, the higher purpose that he talked about of service, right? And selfless service, I would say, where he said, I put myself and I'm nobody in that. It's all about the institution, etc. That's just so amazingly inspirational. So, yeah, that's what actually triggered for me when Peter said that.
So let Emmy have the last word as we come to the closing hour.
There's a question from Sanjeev, which is directed to you. I think it's in all fairness to respond to him.
Yeah, Sanjeev, go ahead. Put him on the spotlight.
Hi, good evening. Good evening to all, and so happy to meet you all. My question is, in interest of time, I'll just say, I think as much as I know you from various sources and whatever I could have interaction or read about you, you have had a wonderful and rewarding history of managing many changes and making transformation successful. The question is, now what is new change you are looking for and how you planned to manage it?
So I was telling Peggy, I read a 6-year-old was asked to write an essay on what the person wants to be in life. And the 6-year-old said, I want to be a grandpa. My grandpa can wake up anytime he likes. My grandpa can eat whatever he likes. My grandpa can go for a walk in the afternoon. My grandpa can lie in the park. My grandpa has the biggest fun. So I want to grow up to be a grandpa. So, and because it is, it's Shreya's son's first birthday, I would say enjoy the wonder of life, become grandpa like I am a grandpa. I have a lot of fun with my grandkids. Live in the moment. Enjoy every moment of life. Live in gratitude. Continuously feel the sense of blessing for what life has given to you. And don't make long-term plans and think about this or that. Just every day wake up and say, God, thank you for giving me this life. So serve, live in remembrance, And, as you get older, don't become cynical. Don't start talking about, what is wrong with the country. I mean, the worst thing we do to young people is to impose our cynicism on them and to sort of make them feel that we are not good enough as a country. I mean, who are we to say that India is not great? Who are we to keep on cursing politicians? Who are we to keep on cursing others? I mean, the least we can do for young people is to have a sense of joy, the sense of peace and hope and enthusiasm. That's the least we can do if we can't do a much greater service. So I think, and of course, my favorite person, as we were all growing up on American Voice of America, we used to have Pat Gates. You can check her online, Pat Gates, who used to host the breakfast show. At the end of every breakfast show, she used to say, if you see someone without a smile, give him one of yours. If you see someone without a smile, give him one of yours. So that's the least we can do. So that's what we would say.
Anil,
Thank
just
you.
you said
Small. You started with Prarabdha. So the talk is started with the Prarabdha, and then we evolve with the change process. And now Prarabdha and change into this. So I understood that you said living into present, here and now, enjoying whatever it is. Where is the change process into this? This is what my inquiry is, if you want to address that.
It's very easy that you can get stuck in life because of various reasons. You can get stuck. You stop learning. You stop growing. The only way to bring about the change is I was telling Peggy earlier this evening that, when we were in the car, I said, learn to laugh at yourself.
Mhm.
And learn to laugh with others. Then, when you remember all your goof ups that you have done and the silly mistakes that you do, learn to laugh at yourself. When you do that, then it's not about the ego. Then you have the learning mindset. So you will then find some new joy and some way of discovery, and you will not stay stuck. As long as you are curious, you are enjoying, you are childlike, and your enthusiasm, no matter what your age is, I think life will always turn out to be you. And when you get older, the body starts paining and these kind of things happen. Don't pay too much attention to that. So don't give too much excessive attention to all your pains and aches and the problems. Enjoy life. Learn to laugh at your body. Okay, this also has happened. And just do that. I mean, that's what it is. I would just say all that I'm trying to say is, okay, my ultimate thing, be like the grandpa that the young 6-year-old wanted to be. So, yes, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for lovely answer.
Thank you, Shreya.
Thank you, Ami.
thank you, Sanjeev. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Anil, just one word comes to me, if I may, if you permit me, and Shreya. I was sitting in Dublin in an old age home, and I heard the general manager of that place say that children learn their history from prejudices of their parents. Right. And when you connect with the grandfather and you connect with service. So, 3 words stand out for me from this conversation: purpose, humility, and service. I think that's what I would take back from this whole thing of immunity to change.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. So, Shreya, you have the last word to close the conversation.
I think, it's lovely. First of all, because it's my son's first birthday, thank you everyone for the wishes. It was beautiful to see all of you wish him. And for this session to also happen, because it's a huge change in my life personally also. And there are certain immunities that I also have to make use of and get rid of. So, right time. However, today's conversation, kind of reminded us how our beliefs, habits, and fears can be overcome leveraging several strategies or techniques that you all have explained, and they will help not only align our intentions with action but also bring in a lot of growth. So I would request for any closing remarks from the 3 of you, and then probably we can close the session.
No, I think it's all time for us to close. We have 5 minutes past time. So I just want to thank everybody for the wonderful opportunity to